looking forward a little bit, I guess one thing I would be curious to see is, what are the things out there when you think ahead that you'd like to see come into the space? Are there things that you wanted to do that you have not been able to execute on, where you said, hey, it would be great if we could do this? So I'm asking more of a forward-looking question on where do we need to get to? And maybe if you have an example or two, or something comes to mind around, I would have loved to have done this, but we're just not there yet, or we couldn't pull it off, or the execution took too long.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, we're maniacally focused on consumer insights. It's, one of, I think, as everybody in this room is. And, we're seeing this time spent increase with mobile. You're now, 11 minutes a day on average in the US consumer. 75 million hours of video content are served every day on mobile around the globe. And that number is growing with double digits, right? So there's that piece of it.
And that's actually, just to add one thing, that's amazing, because early days in mobile, everyone thought that video would be the most limiting thing to watch, too small a screen, the resolution's not gonna be good, and now it's becoming the most dominant form of rich media.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that, right? Because you've got bandwidth now that allows that, but you also have to recognize that smartphones today are many things, one of which is the antidote for boredom. How many of us have been at that cocktail party or in that event or about 10 minutes ago when we're just like, oh, let me just get on my device because I really don't want to talk to that person, right? Well, that's great, because that's an opportunity to solve a need, and that need that we might solve is entertain the consumer with a message that's relevant to them, and so that's what's exciting for us. But if you look at these stats, consumers are spending about 5.6 hours per month on mobile consuming video. They're spending 144 hours per month watching TV. Nielsen tells us that 9 out of 10 people watch TV with a mobile device within reach, and that 40% of them actively engage. And so we really believe that there are a multitude of second screen opportunities, because when you've got your second screen hooked up, when the audio content recognition, the ACR is working, you actually have people that are in an opt-in state. That's what they're doing. They're opting in. And there's an interesting opportunity, sort of in a church and state editorial and marketing standpoint. That's 60 minutes of additional content delivery capability where you can be relevant. So we did some experiments last fall with Comcast and with Fox to actually leverage the second screen environment. And we had some interesting learnings. I have a second video that's about a 45-second clip that kind of shows you what we did. It features a Top Chef Fabio, who is very vibrant. So watch yourself for the first 5 seconds, because it might be a little bright. Can we roll video too, please?
So, we love to cook and eat, yes? Well, coming up in the next few minutes, get ready to enjoy our show in a whole new way. Thanks to American Express. Just download ZBox, a free app that brings you live content while you're watching TV. Then, go to the Life After Top Chef page and look for a delicious item you can buy. And if you are an American Express card member, you could get a special offer. There it is. Download the ZBox app and stay tuned to Bravo for more Life After Top Chef. What else can I say?
So that was a reasonably successful program. We got a lot of interest. We didn't sell a lot of merchandise, but that's okay, because we were really experimenting with could we explain this value proposition in a way that consumers got it. But for us, we really think this is where the puck is going. So you have the context of TV in a lean-back environment where consumers will respond to stimuli. You have the ability to deliver content against that context if your meta tagging is smart and if you're a little bit creative. And you ultimately will have the opportunity to drive commerce. And creating that opportunity off of a mobile screen that's in your hand here while you're watching something 13 feet away is very, very exciting to us. We probably got a little ahead of ourselves with this, but I really think in a few years we'll be seeing this as the perfect adjunct. I mean, the perfect complement to TV watching is that mobile device.
Why do you say you got, what didn't work about this? Was it a scale issue? Was it a consumer education issue? What was too early about this?
I think it was the first time you could really buy stuff off of the TV this way, and there were a number of steps that we asked people to go through just because we are a trust-based company with a high sensitivity around security and permissions. And so I think after the third or fourth opt-in, people were opting out because it just seemed like we were asking them a lot. But it's an adoption curve issue too, right? And you have to try it, and we're certainly going to try it again, and we're going to try it again after that. The question is, can we get the tagging right? Can we get the right methodology to serving up the right content? How do we think about taking people away from the big screen they're watching in the front of the room to a message down here? What's the ideal frequency of that? How much is too much? What's additive to the experience versus intrusive on the experience? There's 1,000 things to think about there, But the reality is, this is the one time of day when consumers are sitting in front of that TV where they're actually in a lean back environment where they will respond to stimuli, and you can actually have a different kind of conversation with them. Even if it's bookmarking something for later because you bubbled up something that was relevant to what they were watching and they said, wow, that's great, I'm going to save that and read that later or watch that later. That, I think, is a big area of focus, and I think that the industry is bubbling about that.